Welcome to Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I am your host, That Guy Jay. As always, if you could like, share, subscribe, really hit any of the buttons, it helps a tremendous amount with the algorithm, and I greatly appreciate any and all support. Today, we're actually going to be talking about the algorithm or algorithms in general. The other day on TikTok, I posted a question asking for my fellow book talk and content creators to share some of their frustrations and talk about the biggest hurdles that they've had in their content creation journey. I got a bunch of great answers, and I did start to notice some trends across the board that were frustrating for all people. And I'm going to dive into some of the things that I found frustrating over the last year myself. What stems this topic is this past week, I did what I called a sprint week over on TikTok, where I went live every day doing reading sprints. And for those unfamiliar on Book Talk, people often go live and do reading sprints. And all that is you set a time for how long you're going to read your book. And then you set what most people call a yapping time or a talking time, where you just talk. And it's sometimes about what you're reading, and oftentimes it's just chit chat. I have found for myself that this holds me accountable for reading, and a lot of people seem to enjoy it as well because it's kind of an accountability type setup. So when the sprint starts, everybody picks up their book and silently reads. I just have some lo-fi music going in the background, and I ran into an issue on the second day, just moments into my stream. I got a violation, then I got age restricted. My live was no longer being pushed out to the FYP, and the reason was for me holding my book while reading it. This is apparently a known issue. I have spoken to other book talk creators that have had this issue. I have spoken to other live creators who have gotten the same violation just for holding a box of Pop-Tarts while they were live. And in the moment, it was extremely frustrating. So what I did was I covered my book with a piece of paper like this so that you can't tell that it's a book anymore, because the TikTok moderation said that I was promoting products and pushing people off of the platform to go purchase these products. I said absolutely nothing of the sort. I was quietly reading my book, and I looked up and saw that I had multiple violations. I tested the waters the next day, and it didn't happen again. I was told this was a glitch that cleared up. And then Thursday I went live, and I got hit with the violation again. And while I don't particularly mind having my book covered like this, it just seems a little bit silly that TikTok's moderation, their auto moderation, has gotten this bad. Also, I lost my appeal because they claim to have reviewed my footage and I was pushing people off the platform. I don't know how I could be. The book is The Secret History by Donna Tartt, for anybody who has seen the cover. It is nothing controversial. It is nothing that is inappropriate. It's nothing that should have age restricted me. And this frustration and talking to some other creators prompted me to have this discussion here today. And I thought it might just be helpful to share some of the challenges I've had, some of the ways I've tried to work around them, and then also discuss how some of my mutuals have had similar issues or maybe even different issues, and just give people a general idea of some of the struggles that content creators have. And maybe even in the comments here, we can brainstorm some ways to work around the algorithm. And that's one of the biggest pros and cons to current social media. The algorithm is a massive double-edged sword. On one hand, it gets you in front of a whole bunch of new viewers super often, and on the other hand, it makes it harder to create content for your followers because they may not always see it. The algorithm is all about pushing you out. It seems to be all about initial analytics. It seems to be, at least on TikTok, from what I've noticed, things like the watch time, the percentage of people who viewed your whole video, those seem to be the most important. And then engagement from there counts heavily as well, from what I can tell. Things like shares, favorites. And then I think the things that it views the least is going to be comments and then likes. Likes seem to do the least, whereas watching the whole video seems to do the most. But I have no way to confirm this, of course, because TikTok doesn't share anything about their algorithm. And there are endless gurus that will tell you that they know exactly what to do to go viral. I think that's all just a bunch of baloney. I don't think anyone has the secret answer. If they did, they would be going viral all the time themselves. So for me personally, the biggest struggle I have had with content creation is the moderation. I've had a trend recently where whenever I schedule a post on TikTok, the second that it gets posted, it gets a restriction and is not eligible for the FYP. I always appeal because it is always a ridiculous reason. And on every single video, I have ended up winning the appeal, but it can take anywhere from a couple of hours to a couple of days. And at that point, the post has lost all momentum. It's not going to get pushed out to the FYP the same way. You're not going to get the same amount of views, engagement, and you're not going to be able to share whatever the message of that video may have been. This is extremely frustrating because, like I said, I've won every single appeal, but this has happened to dozens and dozens of my videos. I have no idea what causes it, and I don't really have any clear answers on what I can do to avoid this. For a while, it was just scheduling the post, which is absolutely ridiculous because that was a new feature that TikTok rolled out. You would think that they would want people using it, but apparently not. And I would say my second biggest struggle was one that I saw very commonly in the comments of my post, and that is that the videos that take the most time and are what we feel like as the creator are our best work, are our most creative ideas. For me, it's usually my funniest ideas or what I think is funny. They absolutely flop. The quality, the effort, none of that seems to matter. And then the ones that we put little to no effort into are usually the ones that do well. And this actually attaches to something that someone else said in the comments, and that was that they felt a constant pressure to keep their videos as short as possible because the TikTok attention span is very low. I have noticed since I started posting shorts on YouTube that the attention span on YouTube is much better. You get a much higher percentage of people who will watch the whole short, and you get a much higher average watch time than you do on TikTok. It seems on TikTok that people are very quick to scroll, and this seems to kill any ability for your video to get any kind of traction. So the pressure then becomes, how short can you keep your video? Can you do a full book review in under 60 seconds? Can you do a quick recommendation video in under 30 seconds? And this becomes really challenging creatively, and it also just gets really frustrating because you're not able to actually express the ideas that you want to, and you feel this constant need to just be throwing out quick, short things using trending audios. And it's not a very fun process, but it seems to do better, and it seems to feed the algorithm what it wants. So people are stuck having to do this with at least a portion of their TikToks if they want to see any kind of growth or engagement or build any type of community. This has actually been one of my big struggles this year. I haven't done nearly as many book reviews, and it's because my book reviews don't perform nearly as well. I don't think book reviews are my strong suit. I don't think that I'm the best at them. I do think I do a fairly good job of expressing what kind of vibes the book gives and who it may be for. I don't know that I do the best job of explaining themes or pros or things like that, but I do still think my reviews have value, but I've kind of been demotivated from doing them as often because they just don't perform well, and I have a really hard time getting a review in under 60 seconds. And that seems to be a really big cutoff with the reviews. If they're over a minute, and some of mine have been up to 3 minutes, and they just don't do well. Now, those same reviews I've put on shorts, and they've performed fantastically because, again, it seems like people on YouTube are willing to watch longer videos. I think that this probably has a lot to do with the fact that YouTube in general is a long form platform. People go there with the expectation of usually watching full videos. So a 2 minute short is short to them. It's not a 20 or 30 minute YouTube video like most are on the platform. Whereas TikTok, it seems like after 8 to 10 seconds, there's just a massive drop off in viewership. And I've noticed this with even some of my viral videos, or what I would consider viral videos that get over 100,000 views. The drop off still happens in the, maybe instead of 8 to 10 seconds where you drop off, it might be 15 to 18 seconds of drop off. But it's still happening pretty early into these videos. And it really does, like I said, put the pressure on you to keep them short, because if people stop watching at 10 seconds and it's only a 20-second video, then that means people watched 50% of your video, and the algorithm seems to reward that. Whereas if someone stops watching at 10 seconds on a 1 minute video, they only watch 10% of your video, and the algorithm views that as failing. The next thing that I noticed pretty consistently among most of the comments on this post was people feeling a ton of pressure to constantly be creating. Everybody says that consistency is the key to growth on any social media platform, and I absolutely agree that that's the truth. but it can become, again, demotivating and frustrating when it feels like the algorithm punishes you if you skip a few days of posting. I think this also leads to burnout creatively and just in general. It's, not everybody has time to create videos every day, and then you have to try and mass record in advance and get them out each day. And it can become less fun when you feel like you have to post versus posting just when you feel inspiration or motivation. And there are accounts, I'm sure, that have succeeded and not posted every day and aren't super consistent. But I would venture to guess that they are the outliers and not the rule. It really does feel like if you take a few days off, especially if you were to take a week off, it feels like the algorithm kind of completely resets on you and you're almost starting from scratch again. Let's say you've worked up to an average of 800 to 1,000 views on every post. You're back in the 2 to 300 view range on TikTok if you took a week off. So this creates a constant pressure from the app to have you always creating. And again, while most people are posting for fun, I do think it's demotivating to put time and effort into something and then have it see it completely flop in performance. It's not fun to do some of your best creative work and get punished for, let's say you skipped a few days of posting or you made it a little bit longer because you were really excited and involved in wanting to talk about something. It is definitely demotivating because while this is for fun, I do think that everybody wants to see good engagement. They want good conversation in the comments. They want to see that they're getting views and likes, and they want to see that their effort isn't for nothing. And while growth isn't the end all be all for social media, it's obviously a part of it. I think that everybody who is posting content wants to see some growth. They want to build a larger community. They want to get more eyes on their creative endeavors. I don't think that everyone would call content creation a type of art, but it is for sure a type of creativity. And people who are outputting their creative effort, they want to feel like they're getting something back from that. And that doesn't have to be monetary, but it could be the engagement, it could be the conversation, it could be new friendships, it could be any of these things. But when you're getting low views and low engagement and it feels like the algorithm's punishing you, why do you want to keep creating? And again, this is where I go back to saying that the algorithm is such a double edged sword. This whole topic brought me back to the old days of Instagram. And I remember myself and many other people hating when they switched from showing you only people you follow to showing you content that they thought you would like. And that was really the start of curated algorithms. And I hated it at first. And now it's hard to remember that it didn't used to always be like this. And while I think that the algorithm is a good thing for growth and it is a good thing for meeting new people, and I do want my TikToks to end up in front of new eyes instead of the same people every time, like I said, the flip side of that, the other edge of that sword, is that you can gain some followers and then they never see your videos again. I often have to look people up that I haven't seen in a while and go interact with their page so that they get on my FYP again. And I find that part of the algorithm extremely frustrating. And I do also find the algorithm very frustrating in the fact that there's not a lot of consistency. You can have the same metrics with two videos that are the same length and they'll perform wildly differently. You can even sometimes have the video with the worst metrics perform better. It's hard to fine tune this craft when you're not getting consistent feedback. How do you know how to improve your videos if there is no solid evidence of what the algorithm wants or what is performing well? And while I keep making videos and I keep trying new things, it can get frustrating, and I understand why people give up, and I understand why people are demotivated from posting, and I totally understand why people stop posting, even if this is just a hobby. Not everyone is trying to make content creation their job. For me, I am, as I've mentioned in previous episodes, disabled, and I am trying to grow this podcast into something that I can monetize. But I don't think that everyone is trying to do what I'm trying to do. A lot of people are just trying to post for fun, and I just think it's not fun when the algorithm does that. Another comment that I got that I found extremely interesting was someone pointing out the fact that it felt to them like the algorithm doesn't want them just creating, but it wants them engaging with other people. That they notice an uptick in performance when they're commenting and engaging with other people's videos, which makes sense. But at the same time, again, I can understand how this can become a struggle because not everybody has the time for that. And not everybody has the mental bandwidth to want to be on TikTok for hours a day interacting with other people just in hopes of getting engagement on their own content as well. I think with all of these things, I fully understand why it exists, but I think it's kind of gone too far and could be walked back. And I do think that there is a fine line between things, for example, as showing new people your TikToks and showing your existing followers. It is kind of crazy to think that a lot of people on TikTok have thousands of followers and they end up with 200 views on a video. How did they choose to only show it to 200 people when some people have 100,000 followers? Even for me, for example, I have 3,200 followers and I've had videos that only ended up with 150 views. That just doesn't make a ton of sense. And like I said, it's very demotivating. And of course, I do think that it makes sense that the more you engage, the more engagement you would get. But there has to be a fine line there where you shouldn't have to engage with 10 videos to get engagement on one of your videos. And that's often what it really feels like, is that you have to keep giving and giving and giving, and then you get these little crumbs in return. And again, for most people, this is a hobby, so I can understand turning away from it when it starts to feel like a part time job. Not everybody wants a part time job, especially when it comes to social media. They just want to make videos and have fun. And while I've been on a little bit of a rant here, I don't want to act like I hate everything about the algorithm. It's brought me some amazing friends, and I've built a real community on TikTok in particular. There's a group of us that communicate every day that we've had group messages, we've had group reads, we all try to support each other. The community aspect is absolutely amazing. I just wish that there was a little bit more clarity to what TikTok actually wants in terms of our content so that we can get consistent performance. I think, for example, I would much more enjoy if my videos performed on average better than having a video go somewhat viral for me, at least. I know my numbers aren't the viral that a lot of people are thinking of. I'm not getting millions of views on any of my videos, but I do have several that have gone over 100,000 on different platforms. And I think I would rather not have that, but then just consistently get quality, good views on more of my videos rather than the whole up and down nature of it. And I wish there was a little bit more transparency in what the algorithm is actually judging your videos off of. I know that they're not going to give us an exact definition, but at least some hint of what it's actually prioritizing or suggestions on what we can do better. And TikTok does claim to have that with like the TikTok studio. You can look at what's trending. It's like it seems so unhelpful though because it's usually a niche topic, and if you're not in that corner of TikTok, you talking about it would be completely weird, and it's not going to go over well with your followers because it wouldn't make sense. It's out of context. And it seems to just be trying to push people to videos that have already gone viral. And it's like, if that's already been covered, why are we talking about it again? There's no real clear answer from any of the apps on what they actually want. I did really enjoy posting this as a question of the day the other day on my TikTok. It was both reassuring and pointed out some things that I hadn't thought of. It's nice to see that I'm not the only one struggling with the over moderation. It's nice to see that I'm not the only one that gets discouraged by the inconsistency in the performance of videos in the algorithm. And I'm not the only one whose highest effort videos get the least attention, which always feels terrible. I'm not the only one whose best performing videos are usually our shortest and silliest or stupidest videos. My best performing TikTok ever is back during the demure trend, and it's like a 15-second video that I made as I was about to walk out of my house to go do errands. It was very low effort. It was one take, no editing, and I just happened to catch a trend at the right time, which is cool and all, but I would rather just get consistent engagement and know what the algorithm wants from me so I can try and provide that. I am super curious to know though. So comment below if you do create content yourself. What are some of the struggles that you faced? What are some of the challenges you have with your content and building a personal brand or growth or building a community or any of these things that we're all striving to do with our content? But what have your challenges been? I would love if we can get a conversation going in the comments and maybe we can try and group think our way through this. And I think it does help to talk to other creatives. And it does help to come up with group ideas. And if you have multiple people trying different things and checking back, you have more data points. And ultimately, hopefully, we can have a better experience with this and not all end up frustrated and demotivated and continue to enjoy content, because making content is fun. Meeting new people through your content is fun. And ultimately, that's what we all want, regardless of your ambitions of making it a part time job or monetizing your content. At the end of the day, everybody started making content because it was fun, and they are going to keep making content if it continues to be fun. But that's about it for me. As always, thank you so much for taking a little bit of time out of your week to join me on Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I will be back again next week. If you could, again, real quick, just leave a like, share, comment, anything like that. And on the last note, I have created a Discord for Books and Beyond. It's kind of focused on language learning. If that's something you're interested in, we have a small group of people who are all trying to learn Spanish. And then we also do have a book talk section and just a content discussion section, general chat, pictures of your pets, all that kind of fun stuff. It's open to anybody if you want to check it out. The link will be in my link tree. But that's all for me. I will see you next time. You guys have a good week. Bye now.